happy to have everybody here, and wanted to have like a walk into Xwaaqw'um. But as we're here, just as like we leave on this walk, I want you to really look at this visual here. This has the examples of where the longhouses were, what the land looked like. And when we're out there, right away, if you don't have this in your head, it's easy to have struggles trying to like imagine what it looked like. So I just really love that like they went out of their way to say this is where the homes were, this is what it looked like, because in 120 years a lot has changed. Why aren't we at Xwaaqw'um anymore? There's two reasons. One is the disease. Smallpox hit our nation in the like mid to late 1700s, was like wave one. We went from over like 25,000 to less than 10,000. We recovered, and then in 1858 the other wave hit, and we went from like 15,000 to 300 people. So we don't have as much humans anymore, so you don't need so many houses anymore, but there were still ancestors here. So my family here, that's like Auntie Mina, Tohawia, and Uncle Ron, or I guess now late Uncle Ron, Tusilam. They are descendants of the original inhabitants of Xwaaqw'um, and their ancestor is a woman. And if I had them here, it'd be easier to hear from them, but was a woman who happened to marry a white man with the last name like Maxwell. And in those years, the early 1900s, late 1800s, if a First Nations woman was to marry a non-First Nations man, she became non-First Nations, and everything she owned was then his. So Xwaaqw'um, all the way up, like the mountain, was hers, and then it was his. And so now it wears his name. Isn't that exactly what I was referencing? They love to have their like names on it. But what do we learn from that? He was here. His name was like Maxwell. What do we learn when we learn the old name? All of these aspects of it. And then late 1800s, the reserves happened. The Indian Act really, I think, went in 60s, and really locked us onto reserves. So any First Nations individual on this island was either deliberately moved onto a reserve, or lived here in absolute defiance. And there are villages that were upheld here for a long time, but Xwaaqw'um was one that was lost in all of that. And so there's a lot of work happening with Auntie Mina and her younger brother, Rob George, and they are working with the Steeqye Society to really, well, I think actually, this is all, their work, trying to help everybody learn, what happened here. And they're also working to restore camas over just actually here. And so if you're in this area, all of this work is a result of their hard work. They've also worked with Joe Ackerman and a few others who are also the descendants of that Maxwell family. So there's a lot of history here. So that's why we're not here anymore, but that's what it used to look like. And so when we arrive down there, I want to do, you know, like another song, and then really highlight what the land was used, you know, like for, and like how we lived. But I just really wanted you to have like all of this like link onto the land, and like this like link to how we lived. So when you like walk in there, hopefully you can like view it with, you know, like new eyes. So hey, hey, siam na siya, oh, hi, tap.